So would it be better if I just go back to America then?
Did I say that? If you want that, then go.
Did you not say that?
Then go back.
Oh boy, if you thought things were bad before between these two, they've just got a heck of a lot worse. Brandan really isn't dealing well with the fact that he's due to become a dad. It's all getting too much for him, and now he wants to jump ship and return home.
If Brandan won't change and be a better person, like really man enough to be a father, maybe he should leave.
How did we get to the point where Mary, clingy, possessive, cry at anything Mary, can now sit there emotionless and tell us that life without her child's father might be best for all concerned? Wow. Now, before we dive into all the developments, let's rewind to the start. So we left the pair last week after Brandan proposed, but the whole affair was anything but happy. He put no thought into it and the timing was just all wrong. It left Mary saying yes because she felt she had to rather than she felt she wanted to.
Brandan proposed to me a few weeks ago, and after that, I told my lola that I was pregnant. She was surprised, but she still supports me.
So Mary has told the news to her grandmother, but what about her granddad? Does he know yet? We know what a big deal it was when Mary's brother got his girlfriend pregnant before marriage. He was shunned by the family. They didn't talk to him for a year. So this time round, with Mary, despite her grandmother supporting them, she doesn't think that they're ready to have children yet. And yeah, anyone with eyes can see that.
Hambal ko bala sa imo nga inang hindi ka bala na magbusong. Te karon nagbusong naman gali te ara na.
So let's talk about those consequences, shall we? For Mary, obviously a big one here is shame. The shame that she's brought on the family. The shame that she's brought on her grandfather. She deceived him. She made him a promise and then broke it. But much, much bigger than that, and a consequence that impacts them both, is the financial strain. The stress of not knowing how they're going to afford this baby. And that seems to be spilling over into a whole lot of fighting.
Nami ang nag-aaway ko ni Brandan. Pagdason gabusong ka pati karon kung.
So the fighting is still happening. Even after that nightmare proposal, Brandan's behaviour when it comes to helping around the house and helping Mary through this pregnancy is apparently non-existent. In fact, it's only gotten worse. On top of lying in bed all day, sleeping or playing video games, we now learn that it's also escalated to yelling.
He's always shouting, always slamming the door. This morning, we got a huge fight when he's watching TV with that volume up to 100.
It definitely feels like something's wrong with Brandan. There's some issues here that he needs to resolve. He's obviously harbouring a lot of anger about this situation, and it doesn't seem like he knows how to deal with that. Look, whilst Brandan has a right to be frustrated, and whilst I can see it now, I just know the comments will be filled with people saying, Mary deserves it, Mary deserves it. But take a step back and just realise that it takes two to make a baby. Whether she deserves it or not, that's the mother of his unborn child. There's just no excuse to talk to her like this.
He's telling me, the bad words like, you, Mary, he's like that. And everybody can hear.
It feels like the stress is getting to Brandan. He's stressed about a range of different issues. Their financial instability, the fact they've got a kid on the way, perhaps the fact that he's sunk his life savings into this house. Maybe that helps to explain why he's trying to assert his authority with the TV volume.
My house, my rules, Missy.
But I think more than that, more than anything, it comes down to the lack of purpose he has. Like right now, he has no purpose. There's no reason for him to get out of bed in the morning. He can't work, he has no friends, he spends his days literally doing nothing. And that's causing a lot of resentment, a lot of pent-up angst that he's clearly having trouble dealing with.
After that, he just walk away and won't come back to the house. And he's always doing that.
I just felt like I really had to just get out of the house and escape that environment.
Don't forget, from all we've been told about Brandan's upbringing, it seems like it was quite a volatile household. We were told that his mum had a drug problem, and his dad he just didn't get along with. They clashed often, and it got so bad that Brandan actually preferred to be homeless, to live out of his car. So as horrible as that sounds, that's the home life that he knows. He's a product of that environment. And so now, when tensions run high between him and Mary, it's not really a surprise that Brandan's first instinct is to leave, to be outside, to be alone.
For the most part, I just walk away because that's how I grew up. And sometimes I'll go to the town square and I'll just sleep on a stone bench.
Brandan turns up to the park bench with his own pillow. I mean, he's clearly done that a few times before, hasn't he? Look, if Mary wasn't pregnant, if they had a bit more financial stability, maybe you can justify him wanting to sleep. Maybe. I mean, he's got nothing else to do. But the consequences of his actions mean that his life is no longer all about him. He needs to figure out a way to get out of this funk. He needs to find purpose, and he needs to find another better way to deal with how he's feeling right now.
You know, maybe I could try harder around the house, but I'm not just doing nothing. If she's hungry, I'm trying to get her food. If she wants her back scrubbed, I help out.
That might be the case, Brandan, and maybe you've convinced yourself that you're not doing nothing. But the reality is, that's really not much. Who wakes up in the morning excited to scrub a back? You need more than that. You need more than just lying around in public or in your bedroom playing on your phone for vast periods of the day. And everyone is starting to say the same thing.
Dapat magtarong na siya sa aton kay tulihang tatay mo dapat tara si Brandan. Si Brandan hindi niya pagliwaton.
Spare a thought for Mary's grandparents. This can't be easy for them. They seem like humble, hard-working people. You can only imagine that they must be petrified the responsibility of raising their great-grandchild will fall on their shoulders. Just seeing how Brandan and Mary are must fill them with dread. So they feel like they need to intervene.
My grandpa got back home from Manila a week ago. I've been avoiding him because even though my Lola is okay with me being pregnant, Lola is very unhappy with it.
Okay, so that answers that question. Mary's grandfather has been told about the pregnancy, and unsurprisingly, he's angry. He feels like history is repeating itself. He feels shame. He feels like he's being judged by the rest of his community. So you just know that that conversation between Brandan and her grandfather is gonna be tense.
He just wants a very respected family and he wants us to be perfect.
Okay?
Sorry Mary, but I'm not quite sure that's accurate. I don't think he's looking for perfection. I think just keeping your promises might be a good start. I mean, I'm pretty sure he knows that the whole respectful ship has long since sailed. But regardless, Mary takes her grandmother's concerns to Brandan and requests that they go and see her grandad.
Lola told me that she's really upset about it and that we should talk to Lola because we are fighting too much, and I agree.
I guess I'm just confused about what Mary's grandad can do about it. Do they expect him to impart some magical wisdom that will stop them from fighting? Is Mary expecting him to set some hard boundaries so that Brandan can get his arse in gear? What's the aim here? Do they just want to apologise for having sex and getting pregnant while he was away working in Manila? Probably working to support the family. What is this talk for exactly?
I'm really nervous to talk to Lolo. I wasn't thinking about his rules when me and Mary expressed our love to each other physically.
Brandan, mate, look, you weren't thinking at all. And that's exactly why you're in this position. I know I'm being hard on Brandan today, but the way you judge him has to change when you know he's about to be a dad. There's so much more responsibility on his shoulders now, and he's failing to rise to it, failing miserably. I firmly suspect that this funk he's in might be depression, but being outnumbered by Mary's family, not speaking their language, and now tied to Mary, tied to the Philippines with a child on the way, he feels trapped. So over to you, Grandpa. I'm waiting for those magic words of wisdom. How are you going to make this okay?
Ay nabalaan ko na nga nabuntis si Mary, pas sila makasal, kasakit ng batyagon. Hilaman na, nagbuntis na siya, nag-ainaway pa sila. Gulo.
So, as they sit in the small shop that they built in the front of the house, the shop that makes them no money and has left them in more debt, Mary's granddad calls the house a war zone because of all of their fighting. But interestingly, he seems more worried about how they're being perceived rather than what's actually going on between these two.
Kuya kasi mga tao, palibot. Namulay ang inambal.
Look, I understand that in a deeply religious, small farming village, community is no doubt important. I'm sure everyone knows everyone. But right now, with a baby on the way, surely he can acknowledge that community gossip isn't the most important thing. But hearing this, hearing about how others are judging her, Mary begins to cry. And it says a lot about the state of their relationship that when Brandan tries to comfort her, as he's done numerous times before, this time she pushes him away.
Amo man yung sitwasyon sa pangabuhi niyo. Napadayon pa niyaw? Anak niyo?
It's difficult for her to hear, but those are fair questions. Hopefully Mary's absorbing them. Hopefully she'll be able to translate this for Brandan to also understand, to also reflect upon. Only when the time comes for Mary to translate, she goes completely off script. What she conveys to Brandan doesn't really sound like what her granddad said.
He's like not okay with me being pregnant because of you and the way you show your attitude to this house.
Wait. This house? You do mean Brandan's house, don't you, Mary?
My house, my rules, Missy.
But moving on from that mere semantic detail, that's not what your granddad said at all. I think what she's saying here is what she wants Brandan to hear. But her saying, me being pregnant because of you, is just insane. Because we know we were told that Mary was the one pushing to get pregnant. She was the one that had baby fever. It's just hilarious that now she's in trouble with her grandpa, suddenly she's putting all the blame on Brandan. She wants Brandan to feel guilty.
Would you be mad at me if I assure you that I'm gonna try and get better?
Then be better.
Okay, well, it's not gonna happen in 1 minute.
Okay, Brandan.
Look, we've heard these same claims from Brandan numerous times before. He's told us that he'll get better, she'll get better, their relationship will be better. Yet it's only got worse. So it's hard to have faith in what he says at this point. But this definitely isn't the first time we've seen Mary complain about how lazy he's become since she's got pregnant. She's at her wit's end here. She doesn't care that Brandan's battling his own demons. She just needs him to change, and fast.
So would it be better if I just go back to America then?
Did I say that? If you want that, then go.
Did you not say that?
Then go back.
Did you not say that, he says. Well, no, Brandan, she didn't say that. Those words literally never came out of her mouth. You knowingly made the baby. You're 50% responsible for this mess. So you need to figure out what you're gonna do. You need to take responsibility here. But for that to happen, you need to accept that you have to change. That change has to come from within. Sadly, at the moment, he seems far more willing to run away than to make that change.
You think it's better for everyone here if I'm just not here?
Maybe because you can't change your attitude.
Now remember, Grandpa is still sitting opposite them. He presumably doesn't understand a word that they're saying. But his body language, the way he can't look either of them in the eyes, just shows how disappointed he is in them both and how he's petrified of what the future holds. But what that future will be exactly, and whether or not Brandan will be in their lives, right now is open for debate.
If Brandan won't change and be a better person, like really man enough to be a father, maybe he should leave.
I really hope Brandan can get out of this funk that he's in. I hope he can change, and I hope he's gonna be a responsible dad, a present dad for his kid.